So my presentation fits very well in what you've seen over the last couple of presentations. So I'm presenting a little bit how internet exchanges have evolved over really over the last 20 years and where we see them going in the future and what we see the demand is. I obviously use LINX as an example, but you will see very similar developments at pretty much all of the internet exchanges. Just a couple of words about LINX for those who don't know us as much. So we have been around for 26 years now. So we have been doing this for quite a while. I've been at LINX for the last 10 years. We are fully membership owned. So we're not a commercial, so we're not for profit, we're mutual. And as a consequence, also neutral. It's one fee, every member has one vote. And we've also been known for leading in the way in the engineering solutions that we provide. Just as an example, 2 years ago, we made a decision to go for a disaggregated model for one of our peering lands in London, where we use the hardware, kind of white box switches and the overlying software from a different supplier. These are just a couple of numbers to give you a bit of an idea of the size. We're actually running multiple exchanges, which are all run independently. They are not interconnected. So we have our two main exchanges in London, which are by far the largest. And we run 3 regional exchanges in the UK, Manchester, Scotland, and Wales. And we run an exchange in Northern Virginia in the USA. And last but certainly not least, together with STC, we are operating Jeddah X, which is located in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. The aggregated traffic level of the exchanges combined is above 5 terabit per second. So it's a sizable exchange. So the evolution, what have we seen in regards to who's using exchanges and what type of traffic do we see across exchanges? In the early days, and that's how a lot of the exchanges got established at the time, it was simply a couple of service providers who all knew they want to improve how they're interconnected to each other and wanted to simplify the way and have a neutral place where they can interconnect all of their networks. The focus were really everything what at the time we called tier 2 networks. The tier 1 networks, as they wouldn't really peer, they were except between themselves, they probably wouldn't join. But all of the tier networks and below would join, and the main goal was really cost savings, efficiency of cross connects, and also having a neutral place where they can do all of that. What we then saw was the growing amount of especially video-based traffic on the internet, the upcoming of YouTube and streaming services, was the arrival of CDNs. So where in the early days it was really purely you have your service providers, and most of them had all a combination of content that they host or eyeballs which are directly connected where they provide the connectivity to. That all changed with the CDN, where we got that very clear split in between what are content networks versus eyeball networks on the internet, and that clearly was one of the main reasons why we saw during a long period of time pretty massive increases of traffic on a regular basis as the internet evolved and the amount of traffic evolved across the internet. The next step then was CDNs realized they want to move even closer to the edge, closer to the end user. They started to implement caching servers, which very often they hosted directly in the broadband providers' networks, so in the eyeball networks, much closer to the end user, and that shifted a lot of the high volume traffic. To a certain degree, shifted it away from exchanges, which doesn't mean really that traffic at the exchange has dropped, but maybe the growth did slow a little bit as a lot of the traffic doesn't really pass as the caching server, with their main goal is to keep it close to the edge and reduce the amount of traffic having to be carried around. That's really where we were. What is changing now, and what we see as the next evolution, and it got mentioned in the previous two presentations, both from Mark and from Nico, is that there's new market segments which have discovered over the last couple of years, and we clearly see an increase there, who see a benefit of internet exchanges, and that's to a large degree corporate enterprise type customers, so really more the end users, who want to improve their connectivity. They rely much more on their day-to-day business on having good, reliable connectivity for their network, for their users, for their staff. A lot of what at the time your IT department had a couple of servers in a cupboard, that has all moved away. They either use data centers or even have their applications and services hosted in one of the cloud networks. They've also realized that if they just rely on a single internet access provider, they kind of all of their balls are in one, all of their eggs are in one basket. And they are fully reliable on that and don't have any control, any influence themselves over how they reach certain parts of the internet. And they want to have more control and better visibility of how the traffic flows and how the traffic gets to their destination or gets back to them. So all of these things together mean that a lot of networks, a lot of companies that before probably weren't too worried about it, are now looking at what options are out there. The other thing that we've seen, and we've seen that in the past, and we see it again, is the demand to having kind of closed user groups, so dedicated layer 2 environments that get used for specific use cases, either specific applications or specific setups between a smaller set of companies who want to exchange data direct between them without using a public peering point or public infrastructure to do that. A big and important part of that is, of course, cloud connectivity, and even though there's certainly no lack in options of how you can any company can reach or improve their connectivity to different cloud providers, and using all different technologies, starting from very basic non-encrypted tunnels over IPsec-based VPNs, or depending on the importance for them and the amount of traffic and how much they rely on the availability, to layer 2 circuits. And we clearly see a lot of demand from existing members that are connected to LINX, but also demand from companies who approach us and are interested in joining an internet exchange, in asking if it is something that an exchange can offer, kind of broker that connectivity directly to the cloud providers, having local on-ramps directly connected to the fabric so that they can use their existing ports, save on cross connects, and get a direct layer 2 connection to cloud providers. And there's a number of things that are working there. And again, it's the factor of having the internet exchange as a well-known, trusted entity sitting there, providing that functionality is clearly something that the market is looking for, and that a lot of exchanges start to offer now, either doing it themselves directly or working with partners to provide that connectivity. Couldn't do a presentation without asking this question: is COVID-19 impacting any of this? The simple answer is yes, of course it does. So what is changing? There's clearly there's an increased amount of traffic generated by people working from home, not sitting in an office. And even though we all expect to go back to offices, we also think that the new normal is going to be that a much larger percentage of people are probably going to continue to work from home. And that changes the traffic profile and changes the way companies look at their connectivity. There is something that we call the long tail quite often. The long tail is the large set of very small networks that provide connectivity either for certain areas in a country or for specific use cases where even the large content networks see now a need again to improve their connectivity to reach all of those networks, whereas building cache servers works obviously for static content, for video delivery. The cache networks don't really help for a lot of the services that need real-time interaction, i.e. a lot of the chat functions or even Zoom calls that get presented. A caching server doesn't help them. So even a lot of the content networks are looking again in increasing their presence and how they can reach as many of the networks out there as possible. So again, importance, and we talked about this. The requirement to have reliable connectivity is clearly increasing even faster in the current situation, and it further drives the adoption of cloud services for a whole number of reasons and a whole number of criteria. The next part, clearly an important part for internet exchanges, and we know that a lot of them are looking into improving on this. And you saw the presentation from Mark. It's the drive for automation. It's clearly the demand, both from our members. Initially, the demand came mainly from partners that we work with, who sell connectivity to connect to LINX, but we also see it directly from members to have a programmatic way of ordering services, making changes to their services, and those can be very basic things like changing a MAC address or upgrading your service, the bandwidth on your service, but also going further for members, getting them direct access to statistics, metrics that the exchange has for the member services, making those available through an API to both members and partners is clearly a lot of demand, and similar to LINX, who are working on those things, a lot of exchanges are evolving into that direction. For us, the automation part, whenever we look at developing a new product, the automation part is from the beginning is an important factor of any new product that we develop, and making sure it can be used in a programmatic way for everybody who wants to use it. And there's clearly an industry-wide effort and a certain drive to standards, and we're going to see it a little bit in the demo after this session. One of the use cases, so IXAPI is a project that's a collaboration between the three providers that you see in the background, so LINX, MZIX, and DKIX, to create a common API that can be used for all of our exchanges, and it's developed in a completely open and transparent way, and clearly the goal and the interest is there for the internet exchanges to adopt the same API to help move us towards a standard way of making our services and our data available through APIs. As a summary, and I tried to keep it a little bit short so we can catch up a little bit on time. So the summary, really, we all know it, and we have seen it in all of the previous presentations. There's clearly an increasing demand to have diversity in the different needs that enterprises, service providers, and everybody has for their connectivity, and providing a common place and a trusted platforms. Clearly, IXPs Internet Exchanges are clearly a good starting point to offer all kinds of connectivity and interconnection methods to existing networks and new companies who are interested in improving their connectivity. Doing that in a simplified, ideally automated and cost-efficient way is clearly where the focus is. And most of the exchanges now cover not only peering, private VLANs, closed user group, cloud connectivity. They're all elements that we see all of the exchanges evolving in over the coming years. And that pretty much covers everything I have.